Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're cracking open a highly classified dossier straight from the dark clinical archives of the SCP Foundation. We're looking at a biological anomaly that honestly totally redefines the whole concept of survival of the fittest. I really hope you're ready for this because this one, it requires clearance level 4 just to read about.
It's a pretty chilling thought, right? What happens when a deadly virus decides to rewrite your DNA to survive? I mean, we all know how standard viruses work. They invade, they replicate, and they usually just end up destroying their hosts in the process. But what happens when a pathogen is actually smart enough to realize its host is about to die and literally decides to fundamentally rewrite your DNA on the fly just to keep itself alive? Well, that is exactly what we're exploring today.
Okay, let's dive into this agenda. We've got 1. A bloodborne pathogen. 2. Containment and symptoms. 3. Surviving under extreme stress. 4. The experiment logs. And finally, 5. The authorship mystery.
All right, Section 1, a bloodborne pathogen. Subtitle, Origins in the Deep Coal Seam.
So, our story starts deep underground. SCP-016 was actually discovered when a mine worker injured himself in a deep coal seam. His wound got contaminated with coal dust, which, you guessed it, unknowingly infected him with dormant spores of this ancient pathogen. Within days, this thing spread like wildfire through the mining camp, and it even infected the CDC crisis team that was sent in to help. Once the Foundation realized exactly what they were dealing with, well, their response was absolutely ruthless. To prevent a global pandemic, Foundation personnel terminated all affected mining and CDC staff, captured Patient Zero, and then completely collapsed the mine shaft with explosives. That intense, completely scorched earth cover-up tells you right out of the gate, this is definitely not your average flu.
Moving on to Section 2, Containment and Symptoms. Subtitle, Securing the Keter-class Threat.
Because of its sheer, terrifying danger, SCP-016 is designated as a Keter-class anomaly. That means it is exceptionally difficult to contain. It's kept under BCL5 conditions, which is literally the highest level of biological containment. We're talking a 5 by 5 by 5 meter room kept constantly freezing way below 0 degrees Celsius. The sample itself? It's maintained in a petri dish inside a containment cube. But here is the absolute wildest part of their protocol. If a breach happens and a code Sigma lockdown fails to contain the infection, they will trigger an on-site nuclear device detonation after 48 hours. Yeah, you heard that right. They are literally willing to vaporize their own facility just to stop this thing from getting out.
So, let's look at exactly why they're so terrified of it. The biological countdown of a standard infection is incredibly grim. Step 1 is incubation, and this is super unpredictable. It can last anywhere from 24 hours to 2 full years, mostly depending on how many other potential human hosts are nearby. Step 2, it just mimics the common cold. Itchy eyes, coughing, body aches, you know the drill. But 48 hours later, Step 3 hits hard. It turns into a full-blown hemorrhagic fever, with aerosol blood in the lungs. This creates a highly infectious aerosol effect whenever the host coughs. Finally, in Step 4, the host basically crashes and bleeds out. We're talking profuse bleeding from literally all bodily orifices.
And the official documentation notes this visceral detail with this chilling, absolute clinical detachment. Quote, hosts have been observed projectile vomiting blood to distances of over 5 meters. 5 meters? The blood pressure just skyrockets in those final stages, essentially weaponizing the host's bodily fluids to spread the pathogen as far and as fast as humanly possible. And get this, if the host somehow miraculously survives all that, the virus just goes dormant and loops right back to the incubation phase.
Which brings us to Section 3, Surviving Under Extreme Stress. Subtitle, The Terramorphic Shift.
So, the crucial point here is that everything we just talked about, that's just its normal behavior. It's what happens next that makes it a true anomaly. Normal hemorrhagic fevers, like Ebola or Marburg, they rely on rapid reproduction. When faced with a threat, they just try to outmultiply your immune system. But SCP-016 is a totally different beast. It responds to high stress by literally rewriting host DNA and stimulating rapid cell division. If the host is in a life-threatening crisis, the organism abandons reproduction and mutates the host into something, anything, that can survive the immediate threat.
They call this a teratomorphic shift. The bleeding completely stops, but the nightmare actually escalates. You see major physiological changes within 24 hours, followed by a complete bodily reconstruction in 2 weeks. Now, most hosts simply die from the sheer biological stress of the transformation.
But the ones that survive? They're left with increased aggressive urges, very similar to rabies. They're driven to violently spread the virus. So these transformed hosts remain highly infectious. They aren't just sick patients anymore. They're mutated, violent vectors.
And that leads perfectly into Section 4, the experiment logs. Subtitle, D-Class Testing.
To understand exactly how these mutations work, Foundation researchers did what they always do. They threw expendable D-class personnel at the problem, and this brilliantly illustrates the chaotic intelligence of the virus. Look at this table. They took 2 infected subjects, D-0161 and D-0162, and flooded their quarters with water. The exact same stress stimulus, but the resulting mutation was totally different. For subject 1, the virus gave them gills, fins, and cetacean echolocation, basically turning them into a dolphin. But for subject 2, instead of adapting to the water, the virus adapted to the containment room itself. It caused rapid muscle and bone growth, specifically so the host could try to literally punch their way through the reinforced steel door.
But it actually gets even stranger. Check out what happened when they flooded the room of subject D016-3. Now, this guy was a former chemical engineer. When his room was flooded, he didn't grow gills. Instead, he grew a brand new chest organ with gas sacs filled with acetylene gas and oxygen. The Foundation quickly realized the virus was trying to build a biological blowtorch to cut through the door. It's like the virus was somehow drawing upon the host's own subconscious knowledge of chemistry to design the perfect survival tool. Absolutely wild.
So researchers naturally wondered, can we command this? They took subject D0164 and just told him to grow wings, but applied no actual stress. The result? He just died of exsanguination. The virus didn't mutate at all. It turns out it only activates under genuine, life-threatening terror. They proved this with D0165. They placed him in a box with a bomb over a 1,000-foot drop. They told him to grow wings to save himself. But faced with that lethal drop, the virus didn't listen to the host. Instead, it grew spinnerets so he could weave spider silk to secure the box to the suspension cable right before the bomb went off. The virus is literally sentient enough to know exactly what will save the host, completely ignoring what the host actually wants.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, the authorship mystery. Subtitle, the metalore.
Let's step out of the SCP universe for a quick second, because there's a really fascinating real-world mystery here. On the main site, a legendary author named Dr. Clef is widely credited for this article. But over in the discussion forums, another user named Kythe dropped this quote: "When I first thought up of this thing way back then, it wasn't really a blood pathogen." Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it strongly implies Kythe was the actual original creator, and Dr. Clef just stepped in and performed a massive rewrite of the whole concept.
And this creates a genuine administrative anomaly for the SCP Wiki. As Reddit users have pointed out, the SCP-016 article completely lacks official attribution metadata. It isn't listed on the unknown author page, and despite Dr. Clef indicating elsewhere that he rewrote it, it isn't officially tagged as a rewrite. You know, in a community that is usually obsessed with meticulous record-keeping, this file has somehow just slipped right through the cracks. It leaves behind this trail of metadata ambiguity. We're just explaining the source material here, but honestly, it almost feels like a lost Foundation record in real life, doesn't it?
Which leaves us with one final, very provocative question. If Dr. Clef completely rewrote Kythe's original vision, making it the highly sentient, mutating blood pathogen we know today, what did the true original SCP-016 actually look like? Was it something entirely different? Maybe something even worse? We may never know for sure, but it definitely makes diving into the hidden lore of the SCP universe that much more fascinating. And that wraps up our explainer for today. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I will see you in the next one.